Okay, December 9th will be here. Thank you for that update. December 9th, and so it'll be a learning curve for all of us, Miss Gloria, me, everyone who's going to learn to run this new copier, printer, scanner. All it does, all of it. And thanks, Brother Rob, for picking it out. He did a lot of research and then recommended, I believe, two to Brother Billy and others, and so we're getting an Epson, correct? And so it's going to be a copier, scanner, printer, all in one, and so the ink, I believe, is going to be cheaper than what we've been buying, and so we'll be able to. And I think it only takes a certain kind, right? Is that the one that we talked about, or is this one? So it'll be cheaper. I think in the long run, the machine is higher than other ones, but the ink and stuff will be cheaper to buy. And so right now we're paying roughly $100 per color, and plus it only gets, I think, 1,200 copies per cartridge. So this one's going to be a little bit more than that, quite a bit more than that, right? And I think, did we estimate how many copies we can get with that? So that's good. hmm I I I think we should carry on what we're doing, what you're doing. Uh, I tell the I tell the Sunday school teachers that um, if they're going to make a copy and they want to copy some for kids to look at, is to evaluate if it's wasteful to do it in color because the kids are going to throw it away. So I just well, and the thing is, if they do want color, they can color it like you said. They can color it in. They can color in the spots if they want color. Yeah, I don't like the home office printers. They're not made for the demand, and that's what I have at home as well. And it was a Black Friday deal, but I didn't research the ink. And mine's a Canon, and Canons are good printers. They're laser. It's a laser, but I just mainly do uh, I just mainly do black and white copies at home, and it lasts about 2 months if I do that. What's that? Right. And what they do is they build something that's going to benefit them. What you're going to pay in ink, and it's just like cars. They can make your cars more energy efficient, more gas efficient, but they don't want to. They want you to buy gas. They want you to buy ink. If they make a copier that you only have to change a cartridge out twice a month or twice a year, they'll lose money, and so they're not going to make one efficient like that. So I'm glad that he was able to find us one that will be cheaper on ink, and we can carry on what we're doing. And because the church does need one, it's a part of a ministry as well. When you have a copy machine, you're printing stuff for kids to read, for students to, I mean, for adults to read, and we're making bulletins for visitors to read. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So I'm glad that we have got us a new one, and I think it'll be good for years to come. Oh, but all right, we're going to go ahead and open up in prayer. Do we have any prayer requests I'd like to mention tonight? Yes. Uh huh. Okay. I was going to ask that because it wasn't talked about Sunday. I was going to give some options if people, if you don't want to cook, I know we're low on cooks. We just lost another one, Brother Bill, him moving away. Um, if y'all want to do what we did last time, and that's just meet at a restaurant and eat, and and let them cook for us and let them clean for us. I know it means us having to buy breakfast, but what do y'all want to do? If y'all want to do the cooking, then we're gonna have to get some more cooks. I'm not against it, and I think we need to if we really want to do it. But right now we've got 3 cooks that cook everything, and so. So what do y'all want to do? I'm going to leave it up to y'all. Do y'all want to have a physical breakfast here, or do y'all want to just meet at East End Cafe and sit at a table and fellowship, drink coffee, and eat there? What do y'all want to do? Okay. I'm good with that. Y'all good with that? Well, if y'all want to, I'll put it out on the wire after tonight, and we'll meet up here at 8 o'clock. And if y'all want to come up here, we didn't have to set aside a table last time, but I will call them and let them know. If y'all can kind of let me know who y'all's coming, I'll get them a ballpark figure, and they can set us a table. It's probably, I think it's better, and it's closer for everybody here. And so that's my opinion. But they can eat wherever they want. I mean, so there's that. So, yes, the men are eating at 6:30, and so at Lady Bird's. See, last year we went all the way to Benton, and it was an hour, and then we ate, and then we got back. Y'all were wrapped up and waiting on, and ready to go. So it is going to be a little later, but we'll be closer. We'll be able to just drive over, and we can sit over here till it's time to go. Uh, and so we talk anyway. Might as well. Uh, they had a 4 o'clock one, but I figured that was too early. 4 o'clock to meet and eat. Some people not off work yet. And well, if the ladies would ever be nice one year and let us come in and eat with them, this would be completely solved. I don't want to deal with the ladies, so we're gonna keep it like we gave it. I'm gonna go ahead and answer that. I know y'all want to do your own thing. So we'll be eating a little later, but I think if we leave here at 6, we get there about 6:15. I think they'll work us in. I really do. I think they'll get us in early. Oh, I can get there. I can get there. I can get there. You leave here at 6, I can get to Sheridan at 6:15. I'll have that church van wound out. Y'all be back here hanging on the back right there. Yeah. All right. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, just let me know, or keep it to yourself, whatever way works for you. All right, let's move on. We're going to go ahead and get started. Let's go to Proverbs 21. We'll do prayer requests again. Proverbs 21, verse 1. We're starting. We're starting in this new chapter. Am I correct on that? What do y'all have? Didn't we do 20 last week or week before? That's what I have. If I'm wrong, All right. Well, as soon as we get the printer and we get all that, you'll have your questions and all that. But tonight we'll be doing it from here. So if you turn to Proverbs 21, verse 1, it starts out talking about the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As rivers and water, he turned, and whatsoever he will. So we're just starting out talking about God's sovereignty. It directs even the decisions of rulers. Their authority is limited, and it is always and will be guided by his purposes. They don't realize it, but even today, the Lord's in control of the government, right? They don't want to admit that. They'll never, ever admit that, but the Lord is in control, right? He allows things to happen. Now, we may look at it and go, I don't understand what he's doing. I don't understand where he's going with it, but that's where we have faith in the Lord and his abilities and his sovereignty. Because we talk about his sovereignty. What is sovereignty? What does the word sovereignty mean when it refers to God? What does the word sovereignty mean? Do y'all believe that he is of all authority, all powerful? So we either believe that or we don't. So when we look at that verse and we say, okay, if he's in control of the government, he's in control of everything that goes on in the world, we can't call him a sovereign God and all powerful if we don't truly believe he's in control, because he is, right? Now, we may not like what he's doing. We may not even understand what he's doing, or we would like to think, well, why is God allowing this to happen? We can put all of those in reasoning as we want, but he is still in authority. Nothing catches him by surprise. Let's look at verse 2. It says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes. We can stop there, right? Is that not correct? Do we not look at our own selves and go, or even justify the things that we do, even today, and we look at it and say, oh, that seems to be right. But what does the Lord say about it? It says, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. So what does that mean? Every way of man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord what? Pondereth the hearts. So what does that tell you? What does God look at? Mm-hmm. So we know that that we look on the outside, we justify ourselves in the things that we do. Everything we do, right or wrong, we justify it, right? We justify everything that we do. In one way or another, we justify things that we do. And so the Lord looks at it, and he doesn't look on the outside. He pondereth the heart, meaning that God evaluates the motives. The motive is in the heart, right? That's where the motive is. So what's the motive? If we, some people say, well, I come to church because I love the Lord. The Lord looks at that motive of the heart of why you're truly here, of why you're truly serving him, why you're truly at church, why you're truly praying, why you're, what your intent is, what your motive is. He looks upon the heart. So that's what this verse is teaching us. Every man looks at his own self as being right? His own ways, justifies everything, but the Lord looks upon the motives which comes from the heart. Let's look at verse 3. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. You heard me preach on this not too long ago, right? So God values obedience and righteousness over ritualism, right? So he looks at all of this and he values obedience and righteousness. Now, this kind of piggybacks so far on the verses we've already looked at ahead. So he's looking at the obedience that we're putting forth and what we're living for the Lord. And then there's some people that exercise ritualism more than they do it out of obedience, meaning that people will come to church, they'll pray out of tradition, they'll do certain things out of tradition, they'll read their Bible out of tradition, or they'll sing songs out of tradition, but really not doing it like they should, right? It's coming out of a ritual type, and the Lord knows that. So he looks at that as not really being obedient and righteous, but looking at it as a habit or a ritual or something that we've always done, right? So that's where the motive comes in. Goes back up to what we've already looked at. He looks at the heart. He looks at the motive of why we're worshiping. The motive behind why we're praying. The motive behind all the things we do for the Lord. He looks upon the heart, and this is why a person's doing it. We don't have that ability. We have the ability to see how people live, and we perceive how they live, and then we can kind of come to a conclusion that they are either a Christian, or they seem to be a Christian, or they seem to be, living for the Lord. I really don't know that 100% because I can only see the outward appearance, and I can kind of see what they're doing here and there, but I really do not know for sure. But the Lord looks upon the heart. He's able to see their motive, why they're doing it. Are they doing it out of habit? Are they doing it out of ritualism? Why are they doing it? And he's able to see that. Verse 4, and an high look and a proud heart, and a plowing of the wicked is sin. So he's looking at pride. What is pride? Is pride wrong? What's wrong with pride? Is pride a bad thing? How did fly get in here? It's 30 degrees outside. How are they even still alive? He's buzzing me too. Getting on my nerves. So we find here that he's looking at the proud heart. The proud heart. Now pride has a motive, right? Pride has a motive attached to it. So what kind of pride is wrong? Give me some examples of pride applied wrong. Somebody give me an example of that. When does pride become a sin? Somebody give me an example of that. And it talks about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's the good pride? Is there some good pride out there? Can we give an example of? Okay. 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 What else? Does that get in the way? Can that get in the way? I'm playing the devil's advocate, so can that get in the way? Can that become a sin? That kind of pride. Even with your children. Pride in your... That's what I'm looking for. Misplaced. Motive. Now, that's a good one too. Idol. It's like an idol. So, pride itself is a sin. Okay, so even ordinary acts of the wicked are tainted. So he talks about two things here. A proud heart, which comes between you and the fellowship of the Lord, comes between you and living for the Lord, becomes something of, I'm better than you are. Or I'm a better Christian. Look at me. Look at how I can pray. Look at how I can sing. Look how good I am, and look how wretched you are. That's the kind of pride it's describing in this verse, right? A high look, a proud heart. Also, that proud heart it mentions here is something that's hard to penetrate, right? Because a proud person doesn't believe he's a wrong person, right? He thinks he's right about everything. That means if you come to him, and I've come against proud people before when I'm talking to them about biblical things and or sinful things, and they look at it as, no, you've got this wrong, preacher. You know, this is no way. And that's the hardest thing to crack, for people to come to the realization that they need to change, and that they are wrong and that God's right, and for them to come to that purpose in that time where they realize that their sin, just as it talks about in this verse, is becoming something of wickedness. So he talks about the acts of wickedness. He calls it tainted. So the plowing of the wicked is sin. What does it mean to plow? What's the purpose of plowing? Let's take this verse into perspective. What does it mean to plow something? What's the purpose behind plowing something? So what is the purpose of them plowing of the sin? What is that? What is that idea? You're planning it for also to be, could be a stumbling block for other people. It could be something that other people will see openly, or something that will become a stumbling block for yourself as well. So it's something that is, that's why he says plowing of the wicked, and the proud heart, the plowing of the wicked, and he puts all this under one heading, is sin. Look at that verse. Yeah, there's commas there, but what is he doing? He's listing all these things that are sins. He's warning us that pride itself is a sin. Ordinary acts of the wicked are tainted. All of these things are coming together, right, and can become something that can lead to sin. So the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty only to want. So diligent planning, what does it do? We talked about a little bit about this in Sunday school, about diligence, but what does diligent planning lead to? Now, when y'all plan something, what is the benefits of a diligent plan? A plan. Okay. The outcome will be more successful than versus not planning. Correct? So he's talking about this here. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness. So diligent planning leads to abundance. Leads to what? Success. What happens when the hasty? He says here, everyone that is hasty only to want. What does that mean? What does haste lead to? Okay. What happened? Have you ever been the one who planned things, and then you had a certain family member or friend that didn't plan nothing, and they messed everything up, right? But you get together for Thanksgiving, and you have this. I know we have a family thread where everybody's bringing all this stuff, and we do it for Christmas too. We get all this stuff, and then you got this one person or two people that have no clue what's going on. They don't read nothing. They don't volunteer for nothing. Yeah, you may have noticed my little thing I put on Facebook not too long ago. That was not aimed at anybody here. That was aimed at other people. About not volunteering to do anything. You got those that don't volunteer to bring nothing. And so what do we have here? We have those who plan, lead to success, and you got those who do not plan and they won't, right? They're the ones that don't prepare for the future. They don't prepare for tomorrow. They don't prepare for today. They don't prepare for anything, and they live off those who diligently plan, right? They live off those people. All those who plan everything out, guess what? You've got the one who slacks, and they live off you, right? They enjoy your planning. That applies to everything in life. You got a job, well, you have those who come in and they do their job and they plan, they do what they're supposed to do, and then you got those that don't do their job, and then you have to help them, or they live off your plans. And that's not good, is it? So he wants us to be prepared. He wants us to do what to plan out. He wants us to be. Now, look in verse 6. It says, the getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro, them that seek death. Now, we've already heard about this in other chapters, about getting what you want by lying or getting money. Or we've already heard about this in other chapters where it talks about getting your money through murder or getting your money through violence, getting your money through lying. Dishonest gain is empty and it leads to destruction. Right? I mean, I'll give you one big example. I used government last time we talked about something like this. Let's look at organized crime. They get everything through cheating, killing, and other things, right? What ultimately happens in the end? They ultimately go down eventually. Something happens, and it's like a big domino effect. Everything comes crashing down. Why? Because they got it dishonestly, right? And even though they feel like you get away with it or they get away with it, it's like when you were a kid, you lied on top of lies and lies and lies and in order to get what you wanted. And eventually what happened? You got caught, right? You couldn't remember a lie or two, and you got caught in it, right? The thing about a lie is you have to continue to lie to keep from getting caught. But when you deal with the truth, what happens? All you got to do is keep telling the truth, right? Stupid fly. Y'all need to take your pets home. We're bringing them up here. That's true, too. Oh, yeah. Yes. So their gain is empty, really. They may get everything they want, but it becomes of a destructive path. And that's what it's teaching here. Getting treasures by a lying tongue is empty, vanity, empty. And he says you're tossed to and fro of them that seek death. So it leads to destruction is what it leads to. So then he tops it, then he adds to it. He's in verse 7, says, the robbery of the wicked shall destroy them because they refuse to do judgment. Sin destroys the sinner. That's what that verse is teaching. Sin ultimately destroys the sinner. Do y'all believe that sin destroys? What does the Bible say about sin? What is the wage? That's why every one of us in this room is dying slowly. Y'all don't like to hear that, do you? We're all aging. I look back at some pictures when I first came here. I looked quite younger than I do now. I can't speak for y'all. I'm not going to speak on that. But some of y'all looked really young back then. I would say some of us had more hair, but I'm not going to get into that either. But that is... So we find that sin is destroying us, right? Even though we have went to the Lord and we have acknowledged our sin and the Lord's died for our sins, the penalty and the wages of sin is death, right? Now, for a Christian, you'll experience, when you accept Christ, you'll experience one death, right? And that's physical death. And two births, right? But for a lost person, they'll experience one birth and two deaths. A spiritual and a physical death. So that's something that we need to realize, that sin destroys. And the wicked that live in sin every single day, they bask in it. Everything they do is about sin. Eventually that will destroy them. So the way of man is forward and a stranger, but as for the pure, his work is right. So the wicked walk a crooked path. And we've seen this already in these chapters. We have two perspectives here. We have the one who lives righteously and upright, and then we always have the one that's crooked, right? The one who's wicked, who walks that crooked path, that path that leads to destruction. That's what that talks about. Let's look at verse 9. It is better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than a brawling woman in a white house. We've heard this before, haven't we? And I spoke on it last time too. A troublemaker, right? Do y'all believe that peace is better than comfort in this case? So you see, it gives two perspectives. You're talking about a physical comfort sitting in a corner compared to living in a house with a fighting woman. Some of you say, well, I do that now. I don't need the corner. I need the corner. I want the corner. I desire the corner. Can I have the corner, please? Guys, I would advise you not to say nothing here. Don't even look at them. Well, that's true. Yeah, he got himself in trouble. He's speaking from experiences. I think as big a place he had, he ran out of corners. He ran out of corners. I promise you. Peace is better than comfort. And I will tell you this, peace you cannot get enough of, right? How many of y'all have ever been in some point in your life where you did not have that peace? You know how it feels not to have that peace. Have you ever noticed that all these movie stars and athletes that have money and they have all the modern comforts that you can possibly buy or even have, but they don't have any peace? A lot of them, if they were honest, they would give all of that up if they could have an hour of peace or just a few minutes of peace in their life. What are they missing? What are they missing? They're missing the Lord, right? They're missing living righteously, living for the Lord. Hope we don't lose power. It's flickering. So let's look at verse 10. It says, the soul of the wicked desireth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. So sin corrupts desires and relationships. That's what that's talking about. The soul of the wicked desireth evil. That's what they want all the time. Desiring it, wanting it. And then his neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. So that corruption is known. I don't know about y'all, but how many of y'all want to be friends with a corrupted person? You want to line up for that one, don't you? Someone that is not supposed to do that. It's just a distraction. I tell you what, Satan is distracting. He sent the fly, now he's sending the light. What's that? That's scary. So we find that evil, you don't want to hang around people that are corrupt, right? I think that's a surge in the building probably. It's causing all that. So we have the corruption. Nobody wants to be friends with a corrupt person. They don't want to do business with a corrupt person. They don't want to be friends with a corrupt person unless they're corrupt themselves and they agree with what they're doing. That always interferes with relationships. You just can't do it, right? That relationship is going to be hindered because of that wickedness. Let's look at verse 11. It says, when the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. So he talks about two people here. Once again, he talks about the fools and he talks about the wise. What does he say about the fool? He says, both fools and wise learn through correction. Now the difference is their response to correction. What's a fool's response to correction most of the time? I didn't do anything wrong. Or they get mad when they are corrected, right? Now, what does a wise person do when he's corrected? What's a wise person do when he's corrected? Yes, he repents, he learns from it, and he does not want to do it again. He learns from his his correcting, right? That's a wise person. An unwise person gets mad at the correction, gets mad at the one giving the correction, gets mad at the word or the correct or the message, rejects the message. That's unwise, right? But then he goes even further. You know what a scorner? A scorner is a troublemaker, right? So that's why they named him scorner there. So then verse 12, it says, a righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth wicked for their wickedness. So the righteous understand the end of the wicked. So you look at this, you look at the righteous understand the end of the wicked. Wicked meaning or equaling judgment. So when you're being corrected, that kind of goes right along with that verse ahead of it. When you're corrected, you know that correction, that you've messed up, and that you're so glad that somebody corrected you, because in the long run that leads to destruction. That's sinning, which leads to destruction on your part, which leads to judgment, destruction. So a wise person says, I don't want to do that because I don't want the judgment that is tied to it. I don't want to go through all that judgment. I don't want to go through the consequences of that. That's what a person who's living for the Lord, that's what a person who's living righteously, they understand that the end of doing sinful things, living as the wicked do, equals judgment. Why? What does the Bible say that God has to deal with sin, right? He has to deal with sin. He doesn't ignore it. He has to deal with it. So that's where judgment comes in, right? Let's look at verse 13. So whosoever stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. So compassion withheld brings judgment. Right? So whoever stoppeth his ears at a cry of the poor. Now what is that saying there? We heard a lot about the poor in Proverbs. He talks about the poor, talks about the ones who are not able, what you're supposed to do with the poor. It even tells you to be mindful of who you give money to, remember? Loaning or giving things toward people. And so to be mindful of who you can trust when giving. It doesn't just tell you just to do it haphazardly. It warns us to be mindful of who we give money to, right? So what does it mean to stop your ears at the cry of the poor? It means the lack of compassion, right? I put it to you like this. If the Lord lays on your heart to help somebody and you don't do it, then that's you closing your ears to compassion, right? The Lord may not lead you to help everybody you see this misfortune, has misfortune. But I believe that the Lord lays these things on our hearts. I've given you a story about this where my daughter felt compelled, led to help somebody out one time, and in turn led me to help him out, because she didn't have any money, but she said, Dad, I just feel like we need to do this. And so I took that and said, who am I to, this is a teachable moment. Who am I to say, no, this would not be good toward my child. So we did. We helped him, and we was able to talk to him about the Lord. We was able to invite him and talk to him about salvation. So the Lord used it. And so I believe there's times where the Lord lays those things upon your heart to give compassion to people. And so we need to be listening for those things. Let's look at verse 14. A gift secret pacifieth anger, and a reward in the bosom strong wrath. So discreet generosity can ease tension. Can somebody give me an example of this in practice? Anybody? How could we describe this in everyday life today? So it's done in secret, discreet generosity, giving of generosity to ease anger. How can we put that into practice today? Mm-hmm. You're not seeking reward, right? So you're not seeking a reward. Plus, it may lead to a lack of division. Maybe in a church, maybe in a situation. I know that a lot of this stuff can be put into perspective in different kind of situations. But in this case, we find that it's talking about doing it secretly in order to ease some anger or something going on, and we don't know here exactly, but it's talking about tension, talking about anger. So there comes a time where you can do things discreetly, and that means that we don't always have to have public acknowledgement, right? Seeking that, it goes back to why we did it. That is weird. I think that's the switch. Is it weird tonight? I'm going to try something real quick. That's what it is. The switches weren't all the way up. That's it. We fixed it. No more distractions, right? That's exactly right. So we find as we get down, let's go to 15 now. It says, "It is the joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity." So the righteous loves justice, and the wicked fear it. Now how we apply this? The righteous love justice. So it is a joy to the just to do judgment. What does that mean? What's that? Right. Is it kind of a situation where you go, "I'm glad it didn't happen to me"? Maybe. Right. I think it goes back to the big picture where we say the Lord is in control. And that lets us know that God is going to take care of the wicked, right? Now, we certainly don't want the wicked destroyed, but what it does show us, and it assures us that if we're living righteously, then we're not going to meet the same judgment as the wicked do. We done looked at that already earlier in Proverbs, where we see those two perspectives, where it teaches us that if we live as Christ would have us to live, we're certainly not going to be under the same kind of consequences as the wicked, right? We know that. Well, it talks about, who's the one that gives the punishment? So who is the one dibbing out the judgment? That would be the Lord, wouldn't it? What was your question? I want to make sure. What does your commentary say? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because that's what I have as well. Righteous love judgment, but the wicked fear it. Why do they fear it? Why, well, first of all, what's the question? Why does the righteous love justice? It's that reassurance that God's in control and that He's going to reward me for when I do right. And He's also going to take care of when things are done wrong, right? We certainly don't want anybody to be punished. We don't like being punished, and we certainly don't want others to be punished. But it also gives us the understanding that God is taking care of it, right? True. The only thing good in us is the Lord, right? Anybody else have a perspective on this? I think we're fearful when we look at this. We're fearful for loving judgment. But I don't believe that's what it's teaching. I think it's teaching that we understand that there is, because we're supposed to be wise. We're supposed to be understanding how God deals with sin, how God deals with the wicked. We understand that. I think it gives us a sense of God is in control. God's taking care of it. He's reassuring us, and we see that go on. When we see the wicked punished, when we see the righteous folks, the people living right, are taken care of, right? We celebrate that, correct? But we see that I believe it just gives us confidence in the Lord. It reassures us when we see. It's kind of like this. Your brothers and sisters got in trouble. We certainly didn't want them to get in trouble, but it also gave us a sense of authority because our parents were in control, right? Our parents were taking care of it. It gave us a sense of hey, they're taking care of it. They're dealing with it, you know. And I know humanly we're like, I'm glad it didn't happen to me, right? But humanly, that's how we feel when something comes against somebody, right? I'm glad that I'm not living that way. I'm glad I didn't make those decisions. I'm glad I'm not going through that, right? All right, let's look at verse 16. It says, the man that wandereth out of the way of the understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Rejecting wisdom leads to death. That's what that verse means. So if you are given wisdom and you reject it, what does that lead us to? Destruction. That's what this whole chapter, this whole book is about, is godly wisdom and how to apply it, how to use it in everyday life. It's one thing hearing it, it's another thing being able to apply it to everyday situations and everyday life. If we reject that, that brings about destruction and consequences and death. Verse 17, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. So what's this mean? Now, remember when they're writing stuff like this, they're using the things that mean a lot to people in that day and time. So, for them it was wine and oil and things. Today it would be like money, cars, houses, popularity, power, fame. You love those pleasurable things, it will lead you to be poor. Now, what does that mean? Is that poor physically, poor in spirit? I think that they overindulge, they can overextend themselves, they can become physically poor. I believe it leads to spiritual poorness too, as well. I think this is leaning very heavily on the physical poor side too, because then it goes to more physicality like wine and oil. So they're applying these two sentences together and they're saying, okay, poor man, wine and oil, physical. And that's that physical indulgence leads to poverty. That poverty. Exactly. You spend all your money on pleasures. That can be anything. You go poor doing that. Buying the latest things. That's what I try to teach my kids. The new thing comes out, they want to buy it. No. I want a new phone, Dad. No. I want this. No. They don't understand that money, you can run out, right? And so you can't just overindulge yourself all the time. One more, and I'll close this out. Verse 18 tells us, the wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the transgressor for the upright. So the wicked suffer consequences, and the righteous escape. What does that mean? That kind of applies to what we've already read. First of all, the wicked suffer consequences. What does that mean? How do we escape that? How does the righteous escape that? We don't do the same things they're doing, right? We won't have the same outcome as they do. I believe that's what Proverbs has been teaching this whole time, is when we apply godly wisdom, our outcome is going to be a lot different than those who do not apply or reject wisdom, godly wisdom. Their outcome is going to be way different than our outcome. I believe that's what it teaches too. That's why the Lord tells us to listen to Him, to live righteously, to live godly, because it will lead us to a different ending, different consequence, right? Different. There's good consequences and bad consequences. There's good outcomes, bad outcomes, right? So I believe that the wicked will suffer consequences that the righteous will not. Any questions, comments? I think we can end before we get into the angry woman next. I think that'd be a good time, good place to stop. How about it, guys? Yes. You getting hot? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they're playing a different game. Um, that only applies to certain people. Oh, wow. Probably is. I didn't expect that story. Yep. That is what we call, that's wickedness to a T right there. All right, we'll pick up here next week, and so read ahead and be ready to. And I should have your questions if the printer comes in time. We'll get you some questions out there to you, and. All right, recap of what's coming up. So we're just all clear. Yes, go ahead. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's tomorrow. Thank you for reminding me of that. So if you want to help in the baskets, be up here at what time? 10 o'clock.